So back to the child care fund reimbursement, we've touched on it a little bit, but I want to dig into it a little bit more. The child care fund is based upon legislation that was pretty old. And so legislation's done. And then the DHS makes administrative rules. So you have your legislation, then the DHS kind of has their interpretation of legislation and they put that in the administrative rules. And then there's another interpretation of the administrative rules into what's called the Child Care Fund Handbook, which is our rules that we have to live by. So 10,000 feet legislation, you drill down a little more, 5,000 feet with the administrative rules, and then the handbook is really expansive and has a lot of the meat and potatoes. But we're bound to that. And then we get audited every year. And because you have a piece of legislation that hasn't been changed in 30 or 40 years, nor have the administrative rules, we're kind of going on an archaic system. So again, this is a very unique time that for the only time in my career that we'll be able to do this. It probably won't be looked at again for another 40 or 50 years. So we want to make sure we get it done right. We want to make sure that funding units have the ability to provide these services. And so we fought pretty hard. Initially, we had talked about doing a 67% reimbursement. We kind of did some math and some polls, and like buying a used car, right? They say 50, we say 100, you meet. So we met it, 75, we were happy with that. We felt that was going to be a significant amount of money to be able to do things. So, and as part of this, the rule, again, that child care fund handbook that we all had to live by had a lot of rules. They had to be intensive programs, which means to qualify for child care funding, the youth had to be under what's called intensive service. They had to be under the supervision of a probation officer who had a 1 to 20 caseload. So they could have no more than 20 kids. They had to be seen face to face once a week. They had to participate in pretty intensive programs. The problem there is not every kid needs that intensive supervision. And when you put kids in intensive supervision that shouldn't be, you're creating problems. Labeling, right? So what this will do is it takes that intensive service word out of that equation. So probation officers who have 50 kids who see their kids once a month, they'll be allowed to be funded through the child care fund. This reimbursement allows counties to adopt, implement, and utilize research-based approaches. Again, looking around the country or the world, frankly, and seeing what programs work and allowing the St. Clair counties of the world who maybe don't have the money to, to afford a $50,000 program to be able to do that moving forward. So, because what was once 25,000 now is only going to be 10 or 12,000. So it really is a deal.